Hello, peeps, and welcome to another episode of the Prescription for Better Living podcast. As always, I'm Dr. Hernando Carter, your board certified internal medicine physician. Yes, your primary care extraordinaire. And welcome to the Prescription for Better Living podcast, where our goal is to discuss all things health and wellness in a hip and relatable way. We want to promote health equity. We want to reduce healthcare disparities by increasing your health and wellness literacy. So I need you to do a few things for me, whether you're new to the channel or whether you are returning PBL family. I need you to make sure that you are subscribing to the channel, commenting on the video, like the video, and share it with everyone you know. Again, welcome to the Prescription for Better Living podcast. And you know that we've been on a journey. We're always on a journey. But we started talking about sleep. And if you missed the previous episodes on sleep, go back and watch those because I'm telling you that there are some gems in there on sleep. But I want to pick up where we left off because I feel like I owe you a little bit more in the area of sleep. Remember, we talked about what insomnia is. We talked about this thing called sleep hygiene and letting you know that there are really some incorrect or improper things that you can do leading up to bedtime that can really dictate the quality and the quantity of your sleep. We talked about certain things that you consume close to bedtime that can keep you up. We talked about certain things that you can do around bedtime that keeps you up. Then we talked about ways and strategies that you can really start trying to address your insomnia, right? Remember, we said that the bed should be for the two S's, sleep or sex, nothing else. We shouldn't be eating in the bed. We shouldn't be working in the bed or anything like that because we want our minds and our bodies to be conditioned so that when we walk into our bedrooms and when we climb into our beds, we are primed for sleep. We also introduced this concept or really this diagnosis known as sleep apnea, right? And we talked about how sleep apnea can really affect the quality of your sleep. We talked about that if you snore and if you sleep 7 hours, 8 hours, but then you wake up in the morning and you don't feel well rested, you don't feel refreshed or rejuvenated, you could possibly have sleep apnea. We talked about how if it's very difficult for you to stay awake during the day, if you sit still for a few minutes, you nod off or fall asleep, or if you go to the movies and as soon as the lights go down and the opening credits roll, you have a hard time staying awake, you could have sleep apnea. So we want to get into talking a little bit more about sleep apnea, but then, we started talking about sleep hygiene, but I think I owe you a little bit more as relates to talking about treatments for insomnia itself, right? So whenever you have insomnia, you're especially chronic insomnia, and you have a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep, again, the first thing you want to do is address that sleep hygiene. So you want to look at, are you consuming caffeine close to bedtime? And then remember that we said tea, iced tea with dinner, because tea has caffeine. Hot tea, coffee in the evenings after dinner. Some people enjoy coffee. Chocolate close to bedtime. You can get caffeine from chocolate, and it can keep you up. Smoking tobacco, nicotine, those things are stimulants and can keep you up. We also talked about the fact that, again, your cell phone light, the iPad light, the laptop light can stimulate the part of your brain that keeps you awake. And so scrolling your phone close to bedtime in your bed, working on the laptop in your bed, that can affect your sleep. So let's say you've addressed your sleep hygiene and you've done all that you can and you are still having trouble sleeping. Is all hope lost? No. What can you do? There are medications and supplements that you can take that can help you with sleep. So I will say, as a disclaimer, everyone is different. This is not just broad general advice for everyone. As a matter of fact, I'm not giving recommendations because you should talk to your personal provider, your personal primary care provider. I am doing this for educational purposes, right? Also, I don't know your medical history, your medical problem or diagnoses, the other medications you're on. So you want to make sure that you are talking to a provider who knows everything about you. But again, is all hope lost? No, it's not. So let's just kind of run down the list of things that you can do, medications you can take, supplements, etc., that may be able to help you with your sleep. All right. You remember we talked several episodes ago about mindfulness. Mindfulness, again, can help you relax. It can help bring down anxiety. It can help calm and quiet the mind. And that can help you sleep. Because remember that sometimes when we have the thoughts and cares of the day kind of racing through our mind, it keeps us stimulated. We are thinking all the time about what we should have done today, what we missed, what we have to do tomorrow. So think about mindfulness. Also, there are other things that you can do. Sometimes you may have artificial light coming into the room, and so you can get blackout shades in your room. Uh, if those are too costly for you, think about getting a blackout mask. There are masks, those sleep-in masks that you can get. Dr. Adrian Carter uses the mask sometimes. So the the mask that can help you block out light, artificial light. So what else? What's the temperature in your room? Sometimes if it's too warm in your room, that can actually keep you up. Having a little bit cooler temperature in the room can help. There are all kinds of devices that you can get to put under your mattress or on your mattress that can help cool your bed down. They have these pillows, these stay cool pillows, because mostly your body wants to be a little cooler when it's time to sleep. So let's say you've tried all that. What do you do next? Warm glass of milk has never worked for me, so I'm not going to recommend it for you. I also am not going to recommend that you try to take a drink because remember we said that alcohol can actually contribute to insomnia, right? You have heard of the supplement melatonin. So melatonin can be a good first step if you've tried all these other things regarding surrounding sleep hygiene. You've tried all these other techniques. You try to eliminate those things that could be stimulants. Maybe think about melatonin. Melatonin is safe, especially for adults. You have to be careful around kids and with kids, especially because melatonin comes in gummies and very nice tasting gummy bear shapes. And so sometimes children can see those, think that it's candy, and take too much melatonin and they can get sick from that. They can get poisoned, over sedated. So you're going to be careful with that. I remember when I was young, I loved Flintstone vitamins, and my mom didn't know this, but I took the Flintstone vitamin bottle and hid it under my pillow in the room, and I would just eat the Flintstone vitamins like they were candy. Now that I'm a doctor, that frightens the heck out of me because too much of anything, remember I said too much of anything can be bad for you. And yes, you can take too many vitamins. You can give yourself vitamin toxicity, right? And so you got to be careful. Same thing with melatonin. But melatonin can be a safe first option if you want to try and consume something or take something that can maybe help you relax and help you sleep. Melatonin is natural. Did you know that our bodies make melatonin? And that's how our bodies start to naturally go to sleep. So you're kind of giving yourself a little bit extra of what your body naturally makes. So melatonin is an option, and there are all kinds. Like I said, there are melatonin gummies, there are melatonin capsules and tablets. So think about melatonin. What else? Some people who are the occasional insomniacs may even try a little diphenhydramine. There's $1 million word for you, diphenhydramine. All that is Benadryl. Sometimes people will take a little Benadryl, especially if it's on occasion, right? Not every night, I wouldn't recommend, because Benadryl taken every night can sometimes the next day make you a little bit more groggy. So those are some of the over-the-counter things. You'll see commercials for ZQuil, right? And either the name brand ZQuil or the store brand ZQuil. But if you look at ZQuil, really, again, all it has in it is a little bit of diphenhydramine. That's generic Benadryl in a liquid form. So now we are moving on to what are prescription sleep medicines. So the prescription sleep medicines are controlled substances, meaning that when your doctor writes a prescription for this, they have to put their DEA number on it. There are a limited number of refills that they can write on the prescription at one time. For most of these types of medicines, is going to be they can only give you enough refills to last you for 6 months before they have to write a new prescription, right? The DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, has scheduled a lot of these sleep medications because they can have addictive properties. They can also have properties that make them more susceptible to being abused or even diverted or sold, right? People want to use them to try to get high. And so the DEA schedules these types of medicines so that they can be more controlled and tracked. And so that if there is a problem, they can kind of track and know that. They also want to make sure that we as providers are prescribing these medications in a responsible fashion, because, while they are fairly safe, they are more dangerous than, let's say, a melatonin, right? What are some of the sleep medicines I'm talking about? There's a class of sleep medications that we call the sedative hypnotics. This would be like Ambien, right? Name brand is Ambien. Generic is Zolpidem, Zolpidem. But that is a very well-known sleep aid, right? It's called a sedative hypnotic because of its properties. The part of the brain that it works on, it sedates you, it makes you drowsy. It can also cause a little amnesia, short-term memory loss. Now, you may have seen several years ago in the news, it was the big craze that some people had the side effect of sleepwalking with Zolpidem or Ambien. There were people who were waking up, well, not really waking up, but sleepwalking and cooking full meals in their sleep and eating them, and they had no knowledge, no memory of that. They were gaining weight and they didn't know why. And so Lo and behold, ding, 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 it was side effect of the Zolpidem. So that is one of the side effects that we are going to warn you about. Also, all these sleep medicines can cause drowsiness during the day, especially if you don't get enough sleep. So if you're going to take anything for sleep, whether it's melatonin or Benadryl or Ambien, you want to make sure that you can get a full 7 to 8 hours sleep. If you take it at 2 a.m. and you got to get up at 6 a.m., you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're able to wake up, you're going to feel drunk. You're going to feel drowsy and lethargic and heavy. So don't even take anything for sleep if you can't commit yourself to a full 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep. Also, these medications can make it easier for you to fall just because, again, the way they work, they make you drowsy. You can have some lingering effects and feel drunk, right? Especially as we get older. So we're very, very cautious with sleep medications in older patients. What's older? Over 60, definitely 65 or older. The older you are, the more conservative we have to be with these medicines. So there's a whole family of these, I said Ambien or Zolpidem, but you may also hear about Lunesta and the such. There are also some antidepressants that we use that we found have a side effect of drowsiness or sleepiness. And these are maybe older antidepressants. And over time, we developed antidepressants that work better, that were more effective than the older ones, but we still use them because they're good with sleep. These medications are medications such as like trazodone, if you hear of that. Also, doxepin is another one. Amitriptyline or Elavil is another one. And mirtazapine or Remeron. Now, the interesting thing about mirtazapine is that for our older patients who start losing their appetite, especially if they have dementia and they're losing weight and they just don't feel hungry and they're having trouble sleeping, mirtazapine has a side effect of making you feel hungry. So they eat more and it helps them gain weight, and it can help you sleep. So those are sleep medications, right? Now, sleep apnea. I brought this up and I told you what it is. How do you treat sleep apnea? The number one way to treat sleep apnea is with a CPAP machine. CPAP, that stands for continuous positive airway pressure. Remember, I told you what happens in sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is that your throat closes off, your tongue blocks your airway. And so with a CPAP machine, you wear a mask and it's blowing a continuous pressure of air that helps keep your airway open. It helps keep oxygen in your lungs. You blow off the bad CO2. You sleep better. You wake up more refreshed. Sleep apnea is dangerous because people die in their sleep all the time from obstructive sleep apnea because their oxygen levels drop, their heart rate slows down, they get irregular heart rhythms, they have heart attacks and strokes. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave you a little bit more on this sleep topic because I felt like I left you hanging. Hopefully you feel a little bit more complete. You don't feel like I shortchanged you. Hey, this was the Prescription for Better Living podcast, where our goal again is to discuss all things health and wellness in a hip and relatable way. If this podcast is helping you, if it's blessing you, share it with someone else. Subscribe, like, comment, share it with all the world. Stand and shout it from the mountaintops. Hallelujah, Dr. Carter is here. Until next time, Dr. Carter, out.